India might be attempting to change the demographic structure of at least two strategically important states, Jammu and Kashmir and Assam. The new Citizenship Amendment Act will grant Indian nationality to Buddhists, Christians, Hindus, Jains, Parsis and Sikhs who fled Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh because of religious persecution. Many opponents of the law fear that the implementation of the controversial legislation could see a large number of Hindus migrating to Assam and potentially to Kashmir, which would result in changing the religious and ethnic makeup of those two energy-rich regions. I'm your host Kasim and thanks for joining me for another KJ vid. In this video we will discuss Modi's Citizenship Amendment Act, which has affected millions of Muslims. I'd also like to take this opportunity to encourage you to visit our website kjvids.co.uk and sign up to our subscription plan, which will give you unlimited access to our content and the full transcripts of all of our video reports and a lot more analysis. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi have defended the law as much needed legislation designed to shelter groups that face religious persecution in their home countries. However, the exclusion of Muslims from the bill has resulted in widespread protests all over the country. The Indian government, on the other hand, argues that Muslims were not included in the bill because they could not have faced religious persecution in those Muslim majority countries and thus would have come to India of their own volition as economic migrants. Some analysts believe that the new law is part of BJP's master plan to turn India into a Hindu state, reducing the status of the country's nearly 200 million Muslims. Even if that is the intention of the policymakers in New Delhi, it would be technically impossible to get rid of such a huge population. It is more likely that Prime Minister Modi and his team will focus on the full implementation of the law in the country's geopolitically sensitive regions. One of them is the northeastern state of Assam. India's Home Minister Amit Shah, who is seen as Modi's successor, has long spoken of his desire to eliminate infiltrators in Assam from neighbouring Bangladesh, saying he wants to replicate the process in the rest of the country. Originally, the controversial legislation was meant to be made only for Assam, where 1.9 million people have been left disenfranchised by the process. In 2015, the 33 million people who lived in Assam were asked to provide documents providing their Indian citizenship dating back to before the 1971 war. Many were unable to, having lived lives of displacement and poverty. The law will now be extended to all of India, and the authorities might look forward to an influx of a more loyal population to Assam and some other sensitive regions. According to the Indian Congress lawmaker Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, Assam is recognised as a strategically important place for the country. He even called the northeastern state New Kashmir, which could be a signal that the Indian government will try to crush any potential rebellion in the region by all means. In 2011, Assam's population was at 30.57 million, 61% were Hindus and 34.22% were Muslims. Between 1991 and 2011, the Muslim population reportedly increased from 28% to 34%, and there was a 7-point rise in the number of Bengali speakers. In the same period, there was a 10-point drop in the number of Assamese speakers. The increase is assumed to be the result of illegal immigration from Bangladesh. In August 2019, nearly 2 million people in Assam were left off a controversial new national register of citizens, which critics feared could be used to justify religious discrimination against Muslims in the state. India's northeast is home to more than 200 distinct indigenous minority groups. States like Assam and Tripura share a border with Bangladesh, and some see the arrival of foreigners as a cultural threat regardless of religion. It is feared that due to the new citizenship law, the region might be overrun by outsiders, as it might open the floodgates for around 16 million Hindus from Bangladesh. India shares one of the largest borders with Bangladesh, which has a length of 4,096 kilometers running along West Bengal and several other states in the northeast. Reportedly, the people of northeastern India continue to suffer isolation as they are physically almost separated from the so-called mainland India. Opening routes through Bangladesh has stimulated bilateral Indo-Bangladesh trade and commerce, but more importantly, it has opened up fresh lifelines for the people in northeast India. Presently, India and Bangladesh are in the best phase of their relations since 1971, but it is not improbable that Indian policymakers might try to increase the number of Hindus in the states that are bordering Bangladesh, especially in Assam. The state is important due to its geographic position, as it is the biggest and most accessible northeastern state of India, bounded by West Bengal, Bhutan and Bangladesh. It also has significant natural resources. Since the late 19th century, extensive oil reserves have been discovered in northeastern Assam. The region also has petroleum, coal, natural gas and limestone reserves. Liquefied natural gas is produced in the northeast and limestone is quarried in the Mika Hills. It is likely that New Delhi will use all means to keep this region calm, even if that means the arrests of hundreds of protesters, police brutality and the shutdown of the internet. In August 2019, the Indian government stripped the majority Muslim state of Jammu and Kashmir of its autonomous status, essentially giving New Delhi more control over the region's affairs. The new citizenship law, as well as the revocation of the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, will provide New Delhi the opportunity to offer citizenship to roughly 4 million Hindus from Pakistan, who could then move to Kashmir. It remains to be seen if new legislations will actually have repercussions to the turbulent region, which serves as a main source of water and power generation for both Pakistan and India. According to Sean Snow, a specialist in the political and military developments of Central and Southwest Asia, Kashmir is a major national security issue for both nations and control of the region could pose an existential threat to the other. The state has limited mineral and fossil fuel resources, much of which are concentrated in the Jammu region. Small reserves of natural gas are found near the city of Jammu, and bauxite and gypsum deposits occur in the vicinity of Udhampur. Other minerals include limestone, coal, zinc and copper. However, Kashmir is more important due to the glaciers and fresh water. According to Snow, the glacial waters that flow through Kashmir provide water and electricity to 1 billion people in India. Pakistan also relies heavily on glacial waters flowing from the region to prop up its agricultural sector. With rapidly receding Himalayan glacial waters, India and Pakistan will face prolonged electricity shortages, stunting economic growth, and dry summer riverbeds will impact the agricultural sector. With a growing population and increased need for electricity, India has looked to the region to develop more hydro facilities. Pakistan fears that India may divert water necessary for irrigation and use water as a weapon against Pakistan. The flow of water is vital to India's need for electricity to power its industry and economy. Reports state that only 40% of the Indian population are hooked up to the power grid. If India's plans to expand its hydroelectricity capacity reach fruition, it could have the power to switch off the supply and plunge Pakistan into a famine-inducing drought. Since India recently started lifting restrictions it imposed in Kashmir in August 2019, after New Delhi scrapped the region's semi-autonomous status, it would not be improbable for the Indian government to face another wave of protests in the region, especially after the new citizenship law was made. If that happens, there is no doubt that New Delhi will brutally crush any rebellion, as it is determined to keep this energy-rich region under its control. The United States has called upon authorities in India to protect and respect the right of people who are peacefully protesting against the Citizenship Act. Speaking from the administration, Sam Brownback, the State Department's Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, said in a tweet that the United States was concerned about the new law and urged India to abide by its constitutional commitments, including on religious freedoms. Earlier this month, the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom has called for sanctions against India's Home Minister Amit Shah and other top leaders if the country passes a controversial bill that will prevent Muslim migrants from neighbouring countries from receiving citizenship. At this point, it seems unlikely that the US will impose severe sanctions on India. Washington might freeze bank accounts of several Indian officials, but it is improbable that it will radically change its policy towards New Delhi. In other words, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will likely continue his current policy, which many see as part of his ultra-Hinduist agenda. It is worth noting that according to some researchers, the majority of Hindus in India are seeing Modi and BJP as saviours who will eventually transform the country into a radical Hindu state. Finally, it remains to be seen how Pakistan's government will react. Will they support their Muslim brethren in India or not? That's all for today guys, thanks for watching this important KJ vid. We hope you enjoyed the video and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please don't forget to visit our website kjvids.co.uk to read the full transcripts of our reports and a lot more analysis. Thanks for watching again and see you next time.